Greetings and salutations, my little lug nuggets. Welcome back to another video. Today we are doing a tier list, important life events tier list. I want you guys to be able to make informed decisions about your life events, and I want you to use this video as reference. For instance, if you get in like a hit and run, just reference this video where I say, I got some jail time, someone stuck it up my rear, bad experience. I'm gonna put that in F tier. That way you never have to do a hit and run. This isn't in any particular order, but I will say the first one is intentional. This is birth, being born. Being born, I believe, is a C tier life event. Not a super memorable experience. I would say that being born is like true neutral. Sure, life is a gift, but life is also a curse. I think that means that it belongs in C tier. Getting in your first fight or physical altercation. My first fight, if you can even call it that, was in the 4th grade. We were playing catch on the field, and this kid Garrett wasn't throwing the ball. So naturally, I called him gay. His 5th or 6th grade older brother came out, and he knocked my lights out. And that was my first fight, and I learned that if you're going to call people gay, you should definitely not. So I'm going to go ahead and put physical altercation. I think for most people, their first fight is not going to be pleasant. I think that's D tier. Getting a pet or getting your first pet. You can get any pet, a friend to a lonely child, your first experience of unconditional love. I'm going to say getting a pet is A tier. Next up is losing your virginity. By the way, I'm sorry for this art that I'm using. Most of this was taken off of WikiHow. I think there's a reason they call it losing your virginity rather than gaining a sex. You're expected to continually do it until you die, basically. Like, it's cool and all, don't get me wrong. Losing your virginity, I honestly think is like C tier. It's kind of like being born. You're expected to do it, but let's not act like you're walking on the moon or something. Getting 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. Now, this is one of those ones where it's not going to apply to everyone. Not everyone cares about YouTube. I think 100,000 subs on YouTube is like A tier. Like, reaching 100,000 subscribers, that kind of represents like, okay, I'm on my way. There's still like a lot of room to grow, but I'm not a novice. Now that brings me to the experience of getting 1 million subscribers. I actually don't think it's as good as getting 100,000. I actually think it's C tier. It starts to become more of a job. High school graduation. Probably the only significant graduation. I actually think high school graduation might be C tier, because it's not that special, right? It's not. It does mark some like getting out of the system a little bit, but you're still in the system. So it's just kind of like, cool, you survived this thing. They didn't have a WikiHow illustration of this one, but this is getting canceled. I think if the daily people you interacted with knew that you were canceled, like it was agreed upon with everyone, like your mailman, your doctor, your massage therapist, if they all knew you were canceled, I think it would be a really bad thing. But I actually think being canceled is closer to just graduating from high school. No, it's still D tier, but it's not any worse than D tier. This image is meant to represent the first time that you won something, whether it be like a soccer game or a Yu-Gi-Oh tournament. For me, the first thing that I won was an Ants t-shirt, because I called the number at the bottom of the screen and I won a fucking cool ass t-shirt. I don't have it anymore. I've been tempted to buy it for like upwards of $100 on eBay, like one of these vintage shirts, but I can't bring myself to do it. I don't think it's like as impactful and long lasting as something like acquiring your first pet. This next one is getting braces. This feels like D tier. It's all right. You get something out of it in the end, and I think a nice straight set of teeth, it looks good, but I think it's mostly to like avoid catastrophe. I don't think it's really meant to make you look like a 10 out of 10 person. It's just to avoid you looking like a 2 out of 10 person. Joining Fazeclan. Now, I haven't had the experience yet of being invited to join Fazeclan, but I figured that I'd put this in here just to show that I'm unbiased and that there are other experiences that people have out there in the world. So I'm going to put this in the question mark tier just because I'm not sure. This picture is meant to represent like boyfriend, girlfriend. Like girlfriend, boyfriend. I found someone. It could be guy. It could be boyfriend, boyfriend as well. It's acquiring your first partner. My first partner, for me, it was like, oh shit, someone else can like me? That feels pretty good. Someone else can like me. I had no idea that that was a thing. Probably B tier. I'm tempted to put it in A tier. There's some complications with, you know, the first relationship, right? It's probably not going to last, but the relationship with this pet, that will last. And I think that's why that needs to be A and why this needs to be B. This represents graduating from college. With how much it costs, I would say that that is firmly in D tier. If it was free, it would be in A tier, without a doubt. All right, this next one might be oddly specific, and y'all might not relate to this in the slightest. Getting your first haircut alone. Getting your first haircut, I don't know, your mom and dad will have taken you to some baby barber and they'll give you some sort of hairstyle. It's sort of their decision, right? I really liked my haircut being chosen for me. I just go into these places alone and scared. I'm scared to show them like a picture of like what I want my hair to look like. First haircut, alone, very scary. I'm putting this in D tier. There are plenty of people who've experienced this in their lives. Leveling a warrior in World of Warcraft to level 60. I think it was worth it. The trade-off was like missing a lot of socializing with friends my age. I got to spend a lot of time with this guy named Oleg, who was a Russian-born Miami resident who was an electrician's apprentice. And we had a lot of good times online together. So I can't say that that was a bad thing. That's firmly A tier. This one represents the most like severe or life-altering accident or illness that you've had. For me, the most severe illness or injury that I've had, when I was like 10 or 11, I collected rainwater off of my asphalt shingled roof, and I collected a lot of it, and I think I was like really into like these survival shows, which is why I did it, and I was like, I want to survive, and I drank a bunch of water that came off of my roof. The hospital didn't know what it was. I don't think that they tested for arsenic poisoning. They were just like, okay, you're nonstop shitting out of your ass and vomiting for a week straight. I guess it's food poisoning. But it wasn't food poisoning. It was definitely poisoning from the roof shingles. But I didn't tell them that because I didn't even know that it was roof shingle poison. The worst injury, illness, it's got to be E tier. That might be the baseline. This next one is specific. It's boxing in front of a large crowd, in front of a large studio audience. I haven't experienced anything quite like that in my life. I've done some public speaking every now and again, and really doesn't touch this. Boxing in front of 20,000 people in S tier. So this one is getting your first job. For those of you who don't know, my first job was working at the Gap. I was a man, so they just automatically put me in like the warehouse to start. They took one look at me and was like, yeah, you don't belong in the warehouse. A little prissy boy like you belong in retail, front of house. Get on over there to the front of the house, little shrimp man. Yeah, I don't know. First job is actually hell in every regard. Yeah, it's got to be an E tier. It can't be on the same level as like getting in your first fight or getting canceled. First job sucks ass. All right, what is this next one? This is your first crime, or like the first time you've stolen something. The first thing I ever stole was like from a Vons. They had these really beautiful like flower bouquet things, but they had these little miniature pumpkin things hanging off of them. And I was like, I like those little mini pumpkins. So I grabbed a couple of those mini pumpkins off the tree and I freaking took them shits. I took them shits straight home and I was like, yes, now I have small Halloween. I think there's a lot of things that like adults pass by in their everyday life and they're like, yeah, I've seen that before, so it's not gonna be crazy to my kid. But I was like, are people seeing this? There's some freaking small pumpkins. I've never seen that, but in the real small pumpkins. It's a real thing. If we're going to count piracy with stealing, then I would say that it's like D tier. You know, it's not great. It affects your conscience. First kiss, I think better than losing your virginity. That might be a bold claim to make, but I genuinely feel like a good first kiss can set you up for life. No, I think it's like C tier. Pleasures of the mouth. That's a yuck way of saying that. Tell me about your first kiss, aka pleasures of the mouth. I'm gonna put pleasures of the mouth at C tier. Next up, vasectomy. I haven't had a vasectomy, but there was a rumor going around on Twitter that I got a vasectomy and that I got a cake for it, but I never got no freaking cake, and I also never got a vasectomy. So I want to stop this rumor from spreading. Stop saying I got a vasectomy. I never did. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Vasectomies are cool. I think it's awesome. I actually believe in vasectomy pride. But just know, I didn't get a vasectomy. I love having unwanted pregnancy, and I love passing the buck onto my wife so that she has to worry about like taking birth control and all that kind of stuff. I have a lot of vasectomy pride, but I haven't had a vasectomy. I'm just going to make that clear. So I'm going to put this in the question mark category, along with the Fazeclan. Next up, marriage. Shit, this looks just like me. Don't you guys think? Isn't it kind of uncanny? I think the marriage is kind of in the same boat as like graduation. You're glad that you did it, but it is also just a lot of like whatever kind of unnecessary work. You don't get anything out of it. The government doesn't send you a check for $50,000 saying, thanks so much for getting married. It's just like, all right, now I got to do some paperwork. Marriage is firmly in C tier. This is a little bit more impactful, in my opinion, than the whole marriage thing. This little infinity symbol, the little pinky promise there, this represents finding your soulmate. This guy is not my soulmate. I have found my soulmate. Soulmate's got to be S tier. I know it feels like I'm kind of like bogging it down by saying like you can, if you box in front of a lot of people, that's like equivalent to finding your soulmate. And you know what? For some people, that might be the case. I'm okay with that. Visiting other countries. Now, I think this one's really important. Even if you're just going to Canada or Mexico or something like that, I think it's super worth it. Visiting other countries, it's got to be in A tier. This WikiHow image represents coming out of the closet. Again, this is one of those ones I put in there not because I've come out of the closet, but because people come out of the closet. So I'm going to put that in the question mark tier. This one is supposed to represent you losing a loved one, whether that be a pet, a family member, a friend, and I think that is E tier. But yeah, I'm going to say losing a loved one is equivalent to getting your first job, getting your first tattoo. So for me, I would say getting your first tattoo is awesome. I would say if you're at 30 when you're getting your tattoo and you're not going to like look back and cringe, then I would say it's like B tier. But if you get your tattoo when you're 18 and it's Rick and Morty, maybe it goes down to D tier. So I think maybe we'll put it in C tier. This is drowning. This is the first time that you drown. The first time that I drowned was like at a pool party. I must have been like 6 or 7. I didn't know how to swim, so I saw these kids being cool swimming in the pool, so I was like, I'm going to show these guys what's up. I'm going to go in that pool, and I'm going to will myself to swim. The way my mom recounts the story is that I ran like crazy guy, fell into the pool, and then I was just drowning, and I was like sinking to the bottom. And they put one of those like little pool things down in there. I held on to it, and then they pulled me out. So my first drowning experience, like, I don't know, is kind of, I would put that on the same level as these D tier things. All right, this has been Important Life Experiences tier list. Now you guys have some life experiences that you can reference. You know, for anyone in the comments who has either been invited to join Fazeclan, had a vasectomy, or come out of the closet, we want to hear what you guys have to say. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. Tune in next time when we do a legit food review. I'm trying to hit all the notes of Christmas past. Get your big boy pants on. We're going to town. We're going buck wild.